your platform may know, but the Supreme Court has now agreed with science on the development of the brain. I'm sure you're aware of all this. So now they're saying that your brain doesn't fully develop to 25 years, and laws have been changed based on this. Some of these laws that affect juvenile lifers all over the country came from some of the stuff I'm talking about right now. But I just say that to say that at the point in time that the law has says that you mature, is the point in time that I began to mature in prison. So I kind of fit the trajectory of everybody that want to proclaim that they have been rehabilitated. Now, I don't want to get too nerdy because I'm into all type of reading, right? But I used to always have intellectual debates with the aunt that I was telling you about, that it was no reason for me to attempt to be rehabilitated or to be rehabilitated, because if you look into the definition of the word rehabilitate, you take rehabilitate mean that you were already ready. In my situation, I was never already, was nothing to rehabilitate myself to. I needed to fix myself and change myself into something. Now, you know, that's no disrespect to my family. They gave me a lot of tools, right? But at 16 years old, I couldn't buy a pack of cigarettes. I couldn't buy liquor. I didn't have a driver's license. So it was just so many tools. And I'm going to just use the word tools that I just didn't have. It's no way to go say, oh, I'm going to rehabilitate myself and go back to a point in time when I wasn't like this. It was never no time other than childhood innocence when I was anything different than that.
No, you barely had a chance to live before you fell. That's why the Supreme Court, I think they banned life in prison for minors, because it's
they come from the laws that I'm talking about, come from Montgomery and this other case out of Florida and Alabama, Florida and Louisiana that passed these laws. Some of those laws are the reason that people like me are not in prison no more in a DC system. Although I got out 10 years before that law. That's another story too.
Okay, so you barely knew your father. He came home.
I'm not going to say I barely knew him. I knew my father very well because I saw him every weekend. Lorton is a different type of place. I saw my father 2-3 times a week, so I knew him very well. I can't let you say that.
Wow, because you went and visited him and you stayed in touch. Okay, that's something.
I mean, it's not just me. A lot of kids that unfortunately had parents in Lorton, because Lorton is only 20-30 minutes away from Washington, D.C. If you had a father or a parent, because there were some women there too back in the day, it's a little different. That's another, I don't want to make it seem like such a sad story, but when D.C. and Congress got rid of Lorton and the D.C. Department of Corrections, and now they send men, which are convicted criminals all over the country, it's a further strain on that family unit there. And my father was able to instill some manly principles in me as a boy because I was able to see him multiple times a week.
Okay, but now they shoot people that catch cases in D.C. all over the country.
In Victorville. Might end up in Coleman. Might end up in Oregon.
Right. Okay, so explain this, because this is the fascinating technicality about crime and punishment in Washington, D.C., because it's not a state, of course. It's a district. It's its own autonomous city-state, for lack of a better term. So
that's exactly right.
If you catch a case in Washington, D.C., even if it is not a federal crime, you end up going to the feds.
Is that correct? Correct.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. Now, let me put a little bit of my opinion in it before I go to just the facts, right?
All right. The brother Eon Williams. All right, that's him right there, the DC Blacks. You know what I'm saying? You know, this is a brother from the city that been in the wars of the streets and then had to go in the pen down in Lorton. I know it well because I was a kid, like he was saying, visiting his dad. You know, I was one of them kids as well. So yeah, you know, they used to have a van going down there. You know, my mother was faithfully going weekly, and cause like he said, it was just 20 minutes, 30 minutes away. You know what I'm saying? So which was a good thing because you was able to keep a family connection, you know, even though your loved ones away from the house, they just down the road. And I think, let me add to that, you know, When they decided to get rid of Lawton, you know, and they would send guys different places, um, I think that's when it kind of broke up the re-entering of jail for a lot of the guys that will get out and go right back. It was like a boot camp. That's how I heard it being described. Oh yeah, I'm going back to the camp, you know, or they would say down the way, you know what I'm saying? And you know, I just feel like that guys that was habitual, you know, people that will go back and forth to jail, you know, a lot of these guys would rather be in jail than on the street. Sad to say. I had a homie that got out the military. This dude had 4 kids in I guess the 8 years that he was in, and wife, and you know, and when he did his 8 and came home from the military, he was out 2 years working a regular job, and this dude used to express to me, man, I can't do this regular life shit. I'm going back in the military. Now this was the time when this was had to be 98 when we was going after Saddam Hussein. So yeah, it was 98. I remember it vividly. And I'm like, what you mean you going back? And it was wartime, you know what I'm saying? He like, man, all this dealing with the kids and dealing with the wife every day. Man, I ain't used to this shit. And I'd rather be in wartime in uniform. And then I think he had rank too. So, you know, he was ordering dudes around and a leader, you know what I'm saying? And I just found that very odd that this dude would rather be in Iraq than to be home with his kids and his lady. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, that's crazy. So I say that to say you had dudes that was they rather be in jail than to be home. I mean, they probably have never admit it, but their actions to me showed that, you know, because they'll do a 2 year bid, come home, and 4 months later they going back. And I never understood that. But that's called being institutionalized. And you know, you in jail, everything free, you know. Out here you gotta get it and pay bills, and you gotta deal with everyday life. You gotta deal with getting a job, and you gotta deal with, you know, sucker ass bosses that wouldn't bust a grape, but because they got authority in a position, they rough, they tough, you know, they froggy, they want to put their chests out because you know they can delete you and take your money from you. You know what I'm saying? But I used to tell people that act like that. I say, man, you better watch yourself, you know, cause not because they was doing anything to me. I'm like, everybody not gonna take being bullied well, especially people playing with their money. How hard it is out here, and jokers trying to be on the straight and narrow, and you gonna play with them, you know, like you gonna play with his job and his money by, you know, on some. I know you need your job. Don't make me put you in the street. And you got these, you know, dudes that were weasels out here in the street, scared to come outside, scared to go somewhere, and basically they grow up and get in position or get a position of authority, and now they this rough, tough dude. You know what I'm saying? And guys that act like that, you could tell them a mile away. Yeah, you was a sucker. You was a punk. You used to get your money taken from you. You used to get slapped and your pockets ran. You used to get your shoes taken. So that dude grows up, or people like that grows up to be, tyrants on the job. So somebody that, did what they did or handled their business, or you wouldn't play with them in the street. Now people that matured in life and got their life together and want to move on and trying to be by the rules, a law-abiding citizen, and now, you know, I guess the demeanor of somebody that's thorough remind them of somebody that used to smack them around. So in their mind, this is my chance to get back at a joker like you that used to press me. So that's the psychology of these jokers that you know that grew up as weasels and now they tough now. Like I had a homeboy that his mom used to be at the school volunteering all the time just to watch over him, you know, and so he was a good dude, but wasn't nothing thorough about him. And he used to be the joke of the school because his mom's was always there, acting like she volunteering. But every time you look around, she was always, checking for him and wouldn't let him breathe. And he hated it. And he got clowned for that. But long story short, when we graduated high school, he went on the police force. This joker became a monster on the street. You hear me? With that badge and gun, that joker became like he was the Hulk. You know, any drama that went down, that joker was the first one on the scene and the last one to leave. And it was an incident on Good Hope Road. I wasn't there, but it was a lot of people that was that, you know, that the story got around DC. And we talking in early 90s. And it used to be a little carry out spot over there. And there was a dude in there. I think the dude was probably off whatever. He was high, acting a fool, knocking stuff down. The Korean people called the police, and my man, I don't even want to put his name out there, but cause me and him always been cool. But I'm telling what I'm saying because it fit the narrative of what I'm talking about. This joker got dispatched to that call, rolled up in there solo, went up in there, told the dude, man, get on up out this store. You messing up these people's store. And the joker all hied up and he feeling froggy. He told my man, F you, you can suck my. And he was like, all right, I ain't gonna take you no more. You got a couple of more chances. I'm gonna be nice with you. Don't you know the joker just started and kept wilding and going in? And my man had enough. And guess what? He went and locked the door, took his gun off, gave it to the people on the counter. Said, hold this, because the guy kept talking about take the badge and gun off, and I put my foot, this thing. He said, oh yeah, okay, all right. So my man, I'm telling you, I ain't never seen this dude fight, and I didn't this day either. But back then, he was a timid dude. But I tell you, this dude with that badge, with that gun, and part of the police department, that dude found his heart, and he commenced to whooping the dog shit out this dude. You know what I'm saying? The damn people had to call the police on his ass to get him up off dude. Because dude was talking so much shit. And he banged them out. And he ain't get in trouble. Because they all was on one page that he tried to attack him, the officer, and he was by himself. You know what I'm saying? And, basically, they was on somewhere. He lucky he didn't get shot. He was like, nah, I ain't had to shoot him. He was going to feel me. So if I know like I know, this was frustration, years of frustration that this Joker had endured with people teasing him. And he was a monster on the streets of Southeast. He was at 7D precinct. Don't you know this Joker be running into shootouts and all that like he had a death wish? They had to put this Joker on the desk at some point to keep him from getting in this stuff. That's how wild this boy was or became. So I'm just saying, basically that's the battery in the back syndrome. You know what I'm saying? I had a recent supervisor that I didn't like, and then will make it bad. It be like somebody that's from a different country. They